be our first time or we're very new to it as well. And especially like for kids younger, like my little sister, what she's dealing with to me is nothing compared to what I'm dealing with. But for her at her age and her mental state, I guess, and her maturity, it's a lot for her. So I think it's good that we always recognize that whatever we're dealing with is valid and our
It's
feelings.
100% valid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going off of what you said with like therapy and stuff like that, I think it's really important for them to understand like the resource that they have, which I utilized during COVID, which was, I don't know if you guys still do it, but it's the and out counselor.
Yeah. So I would say like if you like identify yourself or like a friend that needs help, I would say start by going to like a trusted adult, and that adult could be your parent, it could be a counselor here on campus. If you're in college, they also have therapists in college that you can access, um, and then they'll help guide you. Like for myself, if a parent comes to me and is like, "Oh, my son needs therapy for whatever reason," we have a program that we use that's called Care Solace, and Care Solace is almost like they go out and search for a therapy for that person because it is a lot of work, and it is hard sometimes to find a therapist. But there are like organizations and programs that we can link you with or your parents to make those connections. Yeah, for sure. We have Antioch that works with Da Vinci to provide services here.
Is it free?
Yeah,
Okay, because I got free
it's
therapy
free.
during COVID too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and even like I said, even as you move into college, they have services. Like I definitely tapped into that when I was in college because you will go through it's a hard transition, right? Like I feel like any transition, like middle school to high school to college, it's like an adjustment period.
Yeah.
Getting used to things, and some people, smoothly go into it, and some people like have a hard time with it. Yeah, yeah. Anytime there's change,
Yeah.
anytime there's change, there's gonna be some possible rough patches. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I would say for sure, like anxiety and depression are on the rise. There's more and more anxiety for sure. I was surprised as I was like researching for this podcast. I was like, let me look in some statistics, and surprisingly, like adolescents are at about a 15% rate of having like actual diagnosis, but then it jumps in adulthood, and I'm like, oh no. Like
That's
you
what we
would
talk
think,
about now.
you would
Yeah.
think like, yeah, you think like teenagers have it rough, and you usually would think like, oh, as I'm getting older, I'm gonna figure this out. But things get rough sometimes too as adults. As you enter like young adulthood, like 20 to 30, it actually jumps to 22%. Not to like stress anyone out about that, but it's like a misconception to sometimes think like, yeah, I'm figuring out as I get into adulthood, because again, things shift and change. Like every stage of your life is a different challenge, I would say, and you have to like readjust that. Like now you're moving into college, and then after college you're moving into your career, possibly whether you want to pursue your career, love interest, family. Like every stage is a little bit of an adjustment. So I would say establishing good practices of your mental health will like set a strong foundation as you move into each stage of your life. Just again, start with those practices. Now I see you coloring there. Like that's a great practice to have, since now that's going to keep bring you joy, bring you that little moment of like a mental break essentially that you're going to need always and forever.
Yeah. That's something I do too when I feel extremely overwhelmed. I'll try to stop what I'm doing and take a break. I'll listen to music or go just pet my dog and give her some attention. And then I'll be able to come back once I feel a bit better and continue to focus
Yeah.
on what I was doing or maybe what was stressing me out. And as well as sometimes I'll be able to sit and try to find what is stressing me out and the problem of things.
Mm-hmm.
And something else that I'll try to practice is when I feel like I don't have much control in a certain situation, I'll try to write down things that I can control and things that are out of my control, and
Yeah.
then focus on what I can, what is in my control, what I can try to
Absolutely. Let
work
go of
through.
what you can't control.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or not worry about that too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good practice. I think I would just want to add, like, I think establishing these healthy. I'll do it.
Yeah. I get distracted so easily. I'll like try to be doing
Yeah.
work, and then I'll for a second need like to take a break, and I'll go on my phone. But then I get caught up for like another hour in class just being on my phone.
Yeah. Well, we're all trying to disconnect somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like another, at least like somewhat coping strategy that I found is just having like a really healthy group of friends and like not surrounding yourself with bad people. And like I know it's like kind of hard to like I guess cut somebody off
Mm-hmm.
because you know you don't want to offend anybody and you don't want people standing up against you. But like having a really good group of friends, like
Mm-hmm.
in junior year, me and my friends were all like really, really, really close, and that's like the happiest I've ever been in my entire life because like I had people constantly supporting me and caring for me, and different things like that. Like it's good to have a support system. Like
Yeah.
it's not just you by yourself, and like us humans, like we're what is it like social beings? There we go.
Mm-hmm.
We're very social, and like it's good to have like people around you, so you don't feel alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like normalizing a lot of these things is good. Um, and again, like having someone to talk to just says like, yeah, I felt that way or I've gone through that too. Like, um, I have kids fill out questionnaires about social emotional rating scales. And sometimes I get students that are like really afraid to answer honestly because they'll see the question like, I feel lonely. And they don't want to be honest sometimes because it's like, it's not bad to have those thoughts and emotions because to some degree like we all will experience loneliness, we're all going to be sad at some point, and I think having those conversations almost like normalizes that from time to time we're not always going to be happy, we're not always going to be like stress free, like everything is like flowing, right? You're going to have your high peaks, your low peaks, but I think the key is like having the tools to kind of come out of those low peaks or like those stressful moments or those moments that you're sad. But understanding that, you know, sometimes you may need a little bit extra help in those low moments. So I think normalizing certain things, it's good, and doing that with friends is a good thing too.
Sorry, I know I keep talking a lot. So like another thing, like that at least I learned about myself was something that we did this year and we did it last year, and I know y'all don't like it. It's the social emotional learning journal. Because like I've always I've never been able to identify my emotions very well,
Mm-hmm.
and like writing things down, like writing how I feel down is like a great way to vent if I don't feel comfortable venting to a person because I'm scared they're gonna tell somebody else, and it's just gonna spread around.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's nice to be able to write it somewhere and then like burn it if you have to, if you're scared that somebody's gonna read it.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to like you're able to actually like feel all your feelings out and have no judgment and like almost like learn something about yourself as you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I learned about, how my anxiety can affect me as a person and like all the things that I've done in my life that I didn't even realize were like great coping strategies that I ended up being able to use later.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm glad you did that journal. Yeah, for sure. That's a great tool. 100%. That I wish more people would do that. Yeah.
It really shows that it works for some people and doesn't for others.
Yeah.
In those, I would just kind of talk crap about the assignments that the teachers gave me.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. I mean, you got to find what works for you.
I had a full page, and that was easy.
So, back on the healthy friend group thing, what could work as a healthy friend group for some wouldn't work as a healthy friend group for others. Like there's some that are very cheery, and there's people who aren't the most cheery, and they don't want to be around like all that cheery stuff. They want someone who they can like go about their day with, but not bother. Versus like everyone being so close together and like constantly complimenting and things like that. But they just want to have like a nice chill like.
Are you talking
coasting.
about like a person who's like an introvert versus like an extrovert type of?
Yeah. what? I'm not calling out. I'm saying like certain people have like certain personalities that they go well with. Like if you're like if you sometimes would get like bothered by the constant.
I think like I can give a personal example, but like my friend group is pretty diverse. I think there's like 5 of us main ones that are in this friend group, and we all have different personalities. Um, and I think like one of them, like I think it's about like knowing who your friends are, right? And knowing what their boundaries are and what they need in that moment. So like one of my friends is very like introverted. She from time to time suffers from depression. And like I think for me it's good to know what she's going through in that moment, but I can also just read her by looking at her. Like we don't have to say a single word. And I can just know, okay, in that moment she needs me to check in with her. She needs me to like back off right now and just be here in the same room but not say a single word. So just, like knowing your own friend group, right? Like what is it that that person needs from me in this moment, and acknowledging that. And like I have another friend who has ADHD and is like super happy, super bubbly, talks really fast when she's like in a good mood, and the rest of us are like, can you take it, like slow down, like we're overwhelmed and overstimulated by you right now, but like we're comfortable in saying that to her, and she'll like, okay, take a breath. But like we all have different personalities, and like we all are really good friends, but we have to like check in with each other and like be like, this is what I need right now. I just need quiet time.
That's good.
We need to find like a different people.
And they're good with you, whoever you are, right? If you're in like a depressive mode today and you're like, I just need you to sit here quietly next to me, we don't need to talk about it.
I'm just looking around the room.
Jen is a good friend.
Let's see who's a bad friend. You're the one putting that out there.
Damn.
I feel like we learned some stuff today.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to find your people.
For
You have
sure.
to find who you work with, and like,
Mm-hmm.
if you like this person gonna leave, then that's good. If you don't like this person, then
Yeah.
stay away from them. It depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one person. They like to be with, they want to enjoy themselves around. You have to be, everyone's different. Everyone's diverse.
Yeah, for sure. And we embrace everyone's differences.
That's like good. Are you gonna say something?
No, continue.
Oh, I was gonna say. I feel like this is segued into the ending because we kind of answered all the questions that we had.
Okay.
So
I wanted to say one thing.
I asked you if you wanted to
No,
say
I
something.
didn't want to cut you off.
Oh no, I was
When
asking
she
like if
finished,
you
she
wanted
said-
like.
Oh, I didn't know you were gonna end it, or like try to close it out. Just one thing.
Okay.
Social emotional working is learning thing
Social
where you write down. Yeah, that actually did work for me. I wouldn't be like super serious and go deep in thought. I would just write down whatever I wanted to. But I learned that it did help because I would just like write down all my thoughts. And then for me, it's kind of funny to look back on them like a year later because we had to do it every single time we had English class. And I think it'd be so funny when I would write about something that was really bothering me. Like junior year was very hard for me, so I was going through a lot that year, and it's just like kind of all in that notebook. So I'm like, I just read them back, and I'm like, wow.
Do you notice your growth?
Extremely, I've grown a lot in the past year. Yeah, in the past year.
Mm-hmm.
So I would write down like just everything. I'd be super transparent, just with my thoughts, because no one is gonna read it. So it's just I read it and I'm like, wow. And
That's really great.
Yeah.
That's it. Fighting words?
From me or that?
Do you have fighting words?
I think I said
Party.
one.
Oh,
I apologize. No, I would say like what you just said, like acknowledging that we're always going to be growing and improving and learning about ourselves. That's like a continuous thing that never ends. Like we're always growing, developing, and just being okay embracing that.
Mhm.
Like we're gonna learn from every good and bad thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys have never closed that episode before.
No.
Cool.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
For agreeing to do the podcast with us.
Yeah.
And
We
the
appreciate
research
you.
and effort you put into.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was not expecting
Yeah,
that.
neither. I was like, wow.
Research for us.
Really?
I know.
Yeah, no.
When you
Oh.
emailed me and you said like, oh, can I have like the questions beforehand so I can like prepare my responses?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. We appreciate the time.
No.
Thank you.
My thesis in grad school was on anxiety, so literally
Oh,
I've researched anxiety for like months beyond belief.
interesting.
Yeah. So I'm very fascinated with anxiety. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Wait, can I ask what class did you guys? I know you said English class for the journal.
Yeah, that
12th
was
grade or
last-
11th grade?
Both.
Both. Yeah.
Oh, with Mr. Oliver.
Mr.
Yes.
James does 10 minutes where it's like
You just have to fill a page.
Yeah.
history, and, like,
Sometimes-
you can answer a prompt or like.
And it's
Yeah.
like specifically social emotional journal.
His,
Great,
you
I
can
didn't
write
know.
about whatever you want.
Mhm.
I think later on he started giving prompts,
Yeah.
and then 12th grade English.
Deanna.
Armida.
Yeah.
Did she do it as well or no?
She would give prompts, but like over time she kind of gave up. She was like, "You can write whatever you want to."
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like her prompts were usually like very like insightful.
Yeah.
Like
Hers were very like you have to think.
deep inside.
Emotionally.
I just talk about my day. I'm like,
Yeah, I
my
never
mama
answered the
yelled at me
prompt.
and that pissed me off. So
That's good.
I
You're
just-
still identifying your.
Say what I do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Someone.